You're listening to BusinessFlowShow.com. Let Andrew Roberts and Adam Sowden help you get more flow, freedom, and fulfillment out of your business so you can minimize stress and maximize enjoyment on your business journey.
Welcome everyone to this exciting episode where I'm going to introduce you to a concept known as priming, and Adam and I are going to have a really cool discussion with you around how changing your environment, even making these small little adjustments in your environment, can have a profound impact on the flow, freedom, and fulfillment you're experiencing in your business and your life. Adam, are you there and can you hear me?
Loud and clear, mate. Loud and clear. Very excited
Excellent,
about
mate.
this episode too.
Thank you, mate. And I think I have to again give some enormous credit to Marshall Thurber here, Adam, and you and I refer to this guy a lot because he is a genius when it comes to teaching. I haven't personally been taught by really anyone better, I don't believe. Him and another awesome mentor called Krill Price have been my favourite two teachers when it comes to business and life, really. But Marshall helped me understand, Adam, that everything is priming. And I'm sitting in the audience when he said this, and I'm sitting, well, what does that mean? He goes, everything's priming. And his example was Marshall always wears a suit on stage. And he just grabbed a cowboy hat and put the cowboy hat on. And he said, okay, so what am I priming now? And it was like, okay, a guy in a suit, that's looking a bit casual. And he took the hat off and he said, what am I priming now? Well, someone's looking professional. So he said, see, so the look that I'm currently giving off is priming it's going into your senses in terms of, sight in this particular case. Everything you want to master your life, you'll actually understand that absolutely everything's priming. And another really cool example that he gave, Adam, was he said, I want you to take the smell of popcorn. And mate, I'll ask you this: when you smell popcorn, what environment usually does it bring up? Where's an environment where you'll often smell popcorn?
The movies. Perfect,
right? So popcorn's movies. Now, by the way, when you go to the movies, are you generally in a stressed or a relaxed, or what type of state of mind are you typically in?
Well, generally relaxed, unless it's a scary movie, But no, the movies is always a social thing and a way of unwinding and spending time with friends and my wife, etc. So yeah, no, movies is always relaxing.
Yeah, so people are generally relaxed. They're in a good state of mind. They're happy. So he used the example that one of his clients, a guy called Bill, who runs one of the largest cleaning companies in the world, negotiates a lot on winning cleaning contracts, always gets the person who he's speaking to in his office, Adam, and before even starting the movie, always offers popcorn. And this is interesting because the smell of the popcorn will naturally do what to the people in the office state?
Well, help them relax and feel...
Helps them relax.
Relax and feel more sociable, yeah.
Absolutely. And so he's priming them to be in a good space before the negotiation. Everything's priming. And I started really understanding this, and Marshall said, so if you want more, for example, peace in your environment, and Adam, I'll go with you on this one just to sort of get you talking about it. I mean, what sort of things could you put? What are some peaceful things that you could put around your environment if everything's priming, and you want some more peace? What are some one or two ideas you could put around your environment now? And the key thing is to think about all the senses of sight, sound, smell. What's the other one? Feeling, touch. So if you could just maybe think one, maybe two things you could put in your environment to prime an environment of peace.
Well, one of the things that's used around the world is little Buddha statues. Interestingly, the whole point of the smiling Buddha was you in Feng Shui is you put the smiling Buddha close to the door, or the peaceful meditating Buddha close to the door. So when someone walks in, one of the first things that they will see is the smiling Buddha, or the meditating Buddha. And the whole point of that is, as you walk into someone's house, if that's the first thing you see, it alters your mood. So it's all, like, even Feng Shui is all about priming when you understand the meaning of it. Like, I thought Feng Shui was much more mathematical and precise, etc. But a lot of it is really just coming down to priming.
Bingo.
The other thing, I suppose, a rug that's that she's putting the lounge room floor. And to be honest, rugs are not really on my radar. She said, this was normally $500 and I got it for $200. And she said, what do you think of that? And I said, to be honest, I wouldn't have thought of that. But I'm glad you got it. I'm glad you're happy. But the truth is, the whole family was rolling around on the rug. So my daughter, who's 10 months old, was rolling around on this rug just because of the feeling of it. So that's a perfect example of priming, just on putting a rug on the floor,
Absolutely. I mean, a couple of other ones from the example of peace. We've got nice music has an enormous impact on unwinding you, particularly if it's slow, if the beat's working at that. I think it's alpha's fast. I think it's a beta beat, or it might be even beta's the fast one, and alpha. It's a certain music that actually has the ability to slow your thinking down, Adam. It's just proven scientifically that classical music of a certain beat, a certain rhythm, will naturally create feelings of endorphins and feelings of peace. And mate, one of my favourite ones, it's so simple, but it honestly has the biggest impact, is flowers and plants. There's just no doubt, if you put some flowers and plants in your environment, will bring more peace in your life and more work. So it's just such a fascinating concept, and I'd love to just dig a little bit more into this, Adam, and I want to really talk about this identity iceberg. And the identity iceberg was something that was, again, it's another Marshall Thurber / Buckminster Fuller concept, where if you like, you've got 10% of an iceberg seen above water, right? Mm-hmm. And 90% of the iceberg's below water. So the behaviour of the person's the 10% is what you see. I like to compare it, if you like, Adam, if you were to take two computers, you got computer A and computer B. Computer A is functionally extraordinary, right? So it's fast, it's efficient, it's powerful, it produces outstanding results. Computer B is always freezing, it's not producing results. Yeah. Okay, so that's, if you can appreciate, that's the iceberg, that's the 10% above water. Now, the only difference between those two computers is the programming. There's nothing, there's nothing else to it. There's just the programming. Why is it that one person can be experiencing peace, flow, abundance, and why is it that the other person can be behaving erratically, fearfully, scarce? It's the 90% below the water. It's the programming. It's the subconscious conditioning and programming. So if we go below the water, Adam, you've got, skills will certainly influence behaviour, but then you've got beliefs, values, and I think the core one down the bottom as well is identity.
Right. So what do you mean by that? When you're talking about identity, what do you mean by identity? Because just so I know we're on the same page here.
So for me, identity is really simple. It's represented by the two most powerful words in the English dictionary is I am And the reason why they're the two most powerful words is because whatever comes after them will become my reality. So for example, mate, really simple one, is someone's thinking all the time, I am overwhelmed, I am too busy. What does their reality become? So,
well, it becomes exactly that, doesn't it?
Of course it does, because that's what they're telling themselves. Versus, I am someone that's got lots of time on my hand. I'm in control of everything. You know, so it's interesting because if you look at identities, I am, but the thing that has the biggest impact on your beliefs, on your values, and on your identity, you can appreciate this big iceberg sitting in the biggest so that's surrounding it.
Yeah, right.
So if you could, and the water surrounding it is your environment. And this is why when the goldfish is sick in a tank of water, you know, you don't treat the fish, you actually treat the water. By treating the water, it naturally will heal the fish.
Yeah.
And so if we were just to take someone for a moment, Adam, that's not experiencing flow, freedom, fulfillment in their life, what sort of things do you reckon might be off in their environments? Just really thinking about their surroundings. What could be having an influence on their environment? Again, it's think of all the senses. And from your perspective, what are some of the things that could be having a big impact on that programming of theirs, their brain?
Well, I think I can only go with my own experience here. I think the biggest environmental impactor that, like, I know people have talk about this, closest people to you and your life will change. But you know, the truth is, you know, your friends and the people you associate with are so important from an environmental thing. It's not necessarily sensate, like, you know, touch, smell, taste, etc. But they are like the people that we interact with are completely influential on our environment. So, you know, if you're in a relationship with a person, they might, they might be a lovely person on their own, but you with them is a completely different story. So I used to have a girlfriend who was absolutely lovely. She was one of the sweetest girls that I've ever met. But however, her and I together were kind of like chlorine and brake fluid. When you mixed us together, it kind of exploded. And so that one relationship, because it wasn't stable, you know, and supportive, that affected everything. It affected my business results went downhill, my bank balance went downhill, my social life went downhill, my health went downhill. That one thing, that one environmental contributor completely changed. However, when I met my wife, when we got together, her life completely changed, because us together, we were so much more supportive of each other, and you know, we had healthier lifestyles and healthier thought processes, and you know, so people, your relationships are a crucial part of that. And this is such an interesting little. This whole topic is so interesting. In the I Ching, it actually talks about, you know, the external world, or the real world, the physical world. Anything that happens in the real world or the physical world, it starts in the inner or the invisible world. So it's all things started as a thought or an image before they became in the physical world. And it says exactly that. Everyone's trying to change their external situation. People are trying to deal with problems in the real world by dealing with the real world. And but what it counsels us to do is change the inner in order to change the external. And that's kind of one of the whole major premises Eastern philosophy is change your inside so that it can change your outside. And the flip side occurs as well. It says the external world creates waves in the internal world. So your external environment is impacting the way you feel internally, and vice versa. It's like a little cycle that occurs. Your state of mind,
it's the programming,
your
mate.
environment. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if you really think about what environments that will produce the premium results for you, if you really want to look at it as exactly that, what can I put around me that's going to give me awesome programming? It starts with what you're listening to. You know, things like this will really help. Things like watching the news all the time is negative programming. It starts with the type of music you're listening to. Are you listening to heavy metal, or are you listening to nice, positive, uplifting music? It's the food you're putting into your system, right? It's the what you're eating for breakfast, and it's what your lunches and dinners. Are you eating healthy stuff? Are you priming good food, or are you priming yucky? Adam, it's even the simplicity of the state of your bedroom. Are you putting your bedroom and your kitchen, are they in order? Is the state or is it out of order? And it's the state of your desk. Is your desk in order, or is it chaotic? I don't know if you ever had the experience where you've actually just gone through your home and cleansed it. So chucked out a whole lot of stuff and simplified and got rid of a whole lot of clothing you no longer need. And you've had that feeling, and you've done it, and you just feel lighter as a result of doing it. Have you ever had that?
Look, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, even the reverse occurs when I look at my cupboard or my kitchen or the garage when it's overflowing with stuff that we don't need. It makes me feel quite claustrophobic. George Carlin, the comedian, the famous comedian, said, we spend time earning money so we can buy stuff that we don't necessarily need. And then we spend all our time
people we don't even really like.
Exactly, yeah. But we spend all our time looking after the stuff that we don't really need. So, the environment, this is why that the minimalist movement, I think, is such a... we moved from interstate to Byron Bay. My wife and I, we moved interstate, and when I closed my office in Brisbane, and while I was working in a home office, and in order to save money, and it was convenient for a while. But when my wife was going to have her third child, I said, "Darling, we can't, this is environment. I can't, run our business successfully with a newborn baby in the house, or with me in a house with a newborn baby." So I had to get an office, and this whole thing was the whole idea was. My thought was, it's going to cost us more money. Is it necessary, etc. But changing the environment, in other words, having an external office, something as simple as that, the first week of having the office, it increased my productivity by significantly, to the point where we covered, in 1 week, we covered 6 months worth of office expense. So just from having that extra space, productivity, changing the environment, productivity improved to cover, pay 6 months worth of rent. And in the second week, we paid the whole year off in office expenses. So, this is something that I've had personal experience with, changing your environment, leading to, or altering the environment, leading to, more flow in a business. So it's very, very poignant.
Well, I remember actually Taki Moore years ago. I was at an event of his, Adam, and he said, "Look, don't what was it? Stop trying to change channels." And that when I asked him, what do you mean by that? He said, "So if you're sitting at your desk and you're not in the mood to work, And I do this all the time. Like I have I reckon about 9 offices around the Sunshine Coast, including 8 cafes and my real office. Mate, I cannot do creative marketing work at the desk that I coach on. The desk that I coach on's primed for coaching. When I'm there, I'm in the zone. But get me to work on marketing on that desk. So I don't know. It's probably just me, but I just can't do it. So I pack everything up and I move down into an environment overlooking the ocean, in a beautiful cafe. I enjoy the background noise. It actually motivates. It's good priming for me for creativity. I don't know how, but it works. And the ocean and the sound of the waves, and I just do my most incredible work in that different environment. And I know after lunch, it's easy to get a bit tired, and that's often you just have to go and find a different environment, and away you go. Another one is, if you're ever going to plan and at your future, find an environment that's got an incredible view. Go and find a mountain or a really high building with a beautiful view. Give yourself permission to have the big view, the big open vision. I'm you to think big. Mission to find the biggest view you possibly can, and a beautiful penthouse apartment or something. I mean, if you're going to plan your future, give yourself permission. You're worth having something like that to work on your plan, and you will actually think clearer. And so, I think what I got from Marshall, Adam, and I think this conversation's opening up just how important priming is, right? And ultimately, that you've hit the nail on the head. You can change your inside story, but often just by changing the outside story, which is your environment, that can naturally stimulate the inside story to think differently.
There's a bunch of guys, and they've written a book called Switch. Now, it's Chip and Dan Heath, their name is, and they've written a book called Switch. It's about when change is hard, when creating organizational change is hard. And to summarize the book, they've basically said there's 4 major factors in creating change. The first major factor is, they call, your head. Intellectually, we intellectually understand the need for change. The second is the heart. In other words, we're emotionally engaged in that change. And the third is the feet. In other words, we have a clear plan or series of action steps to take to create that change. However, the fourth thing, so you've got head, intellect, heart, emotion, feet, is the planning. Now, I've kind of paraphrased this because they say it in a far more intellectual way than I'll ever articulate. But the fourth major thing is the environment, or they call it the container. And by far, the container or the environment is the most powerful change agent within organizations. And they did this test interestingly at a movie theater, and using popcorn. So what happened in the test was they produced this really terrible popcorn. It tasted disgusting, and no salt on it. It was cold, but it was just not the lovely popcorn that you're used to at a movie theater. And not only that, and they started giving this popcorn out. They said, you can come to the movies for free, but you've got to take the popcorn. So they invited people to come to the movies, and they said, you've got to take this popcorn. And they gave them really large buckets of popcorn. So obscenely large buckets of popcorn. And what they found was, the larger the container, the more people ate. So the bigger the container you were given, the more people would eat. Now, the popcorn was disgusting. It was cold. It was, days old. There was no salt on it. There was no butter. It was just this awful thing. And afterwards, they interviewed the people coming in. They said, what do you think of the popcorn? And everyone said it tasted disgusting. It was awful. But everyone ate the entire container. So the bigger the container, the more people would eat.
Yeah.
And it was the perfect illustration of how environment, or in their words, the container, influences behavior. So if you want, I think one of the best ways to change an organization or change your business or change your life is exactly what we're talking about here. Change your environment. Change your friends. Change your clothes even. When I first got started in entrepreneurial endeavors, I studied with Robert Kiyosaki, and he made it really clear up on stage. He would have people do makeovers on stage. He would bring these kind of daggy-looking Australians up on stage, and then get these professional makeover artists to give them a new outfit and et cetera, et cetera. And he was really clear. You've got to look a certain way. Change your look so you can look more professional. And I remember changing. I went out and bought like a really nice outfit. Nice pants and business shirts and cufflinks and all this. And I hadn't spent that much money on clothes, I think, in my entire life up till that point. But I remember wearing initially, and I felt so uncomfortable wearing these really nice clothes. Even to the point where, I walked into a bank, and because I was wearing nice clothes, I could feel people looking at me, and it made me feel really uncomfortable initially. But by continuing to wear these really nice clothes, I started to become comfortable with it. And the interesting thing was, because I was working in property at the time, we were developing property, etc., and renovating, etc. Whenever I walk in my normal civilian clothes, the agents would treat me a different way to when I walked in my new business clothes. So the way I dressed completely changed the way people dealt with me. So this is I think a crucial thing, that you change your environment, change the way you look and feel. Like I said, I was uncomfortable initially with the clothing that I was wearing. However, the environment itself changed and changed to kind of match, my new clothing vibration, for lack of another word.
And it's the perception of people seeing you wearing those, just like Marshall Thurber putting on the hat versus taking it off. You're priming other people to look at you thinking this person likes themselves and respects themselves enough to wear quality clothes. Now, I don't like the fact that we judge within about 3 seconds. I don't like this, but we can't avoid it, Adam. That's just reality. We actually, without even knowing it at a subconscious level, we've got this little thing that's going on at a subconscious that's almost got a checklist. And when we meet people, it's ticking off, is this person this. So, if everything's priming, you're exactly right. Is this person scruffy? Are they organised? Are their shoes clean? Do they look healthy? Do they look like someone I would like to do business with? And so, mate, in conclusion, if I was to leave people with just one thing, who has run $1 billion company before, and I was never, Adam, really into Feng Shui at all until I spoke to Simon, and he got me to get an open mind with it, and I read a book on it, and this one thing is such a cool priming for your house or your business, and you want to find the back left-hand corner of your house, and that's actually called your money corner. And go and buy a plant. Go and buy a plant that's really soft, call it a money plant, and it's like it doesn't have to be that big or anything, and put it in that back left-hand corner of your house or your office, and watch it grow. And every time, and water it regularly, and breathe energy into it, and just have the belief that as that plant's growing, my money's growing. The amount of clients that I've helped put that into practice, and they've just rung me just saying, I don't know what it is, but I just seem to be attracting so much more money into my life ever since I've done that. And it's a priming thing, right? It's a subconscious priming thing. As that plant grows, whether you believe in Feng Shui or not, there's some feeling of energy that's going on around by just thinking about, as this plant grows, my money grows. Affirmation, right? So I've got one. I'm looking at it right now, actually. It's sitting in my office, and it's really cool. And I really do believe that as it's growing, so will my financial situation will improve. That's my one tip, Adam. One from you.
Mate, I actually have a money tree as well, just to add to this. And every time a new kind of stalk comes out of it, I take that as a little sign from the plant that there is a new income stream coming in. And awesome. So I take really good care, because especially if it gets brown leaves, I put more care into the plant, which reminds me to take more care of my finances as well. So I think the plan is a really great idea. I think my tip here is around perspective. Now, with business or with life, we're usually, well, put it this way, when I first started learning to be a coach, my coach, the woman who mentored me, she said, the first thing you got to learn about coaching is the problem is never the problem. In other words, your client will come in and they'll say, I've got this problem, and it's never the real problem. The problem is never the problem. And this is probably something we can talk about in another podcast. But to kind of summarize it, when in life we start looking at, I don't feel good, or my work isn't going well, or, we start beating ourselves up over productivity. And so our solution is usually to start overthinking or thinking of complex ways to solve it. Whereas, the studies are showing that the fastest way to create change is change in environment. So rather than go, my tip really is almost to have a little tripwire or a checklist. When you're dealing with a problem in a business, ask the question, can the environment change to solve the problem? If I'm stuck, if I can't be productive, do I need to, as you said, go to one of my 9 coffee shop offices in Alex Heads on the Sunshine Coast? Do I need to will an environmental change pick me out of this? It's something I use all the time. When I've got to think about something in business, I always leave the office. I always go for a walk and try and change the environment to stimulate new thought patterns, I suppose. So, the tip is really simple. The whole podcast is on environment and in changing your environment. So the tip is, if you've got something to deal with, look at your environment. How can we change it? Can we move it? Can we shift? Can we go somewhere else? But just check in with environment and see if that's going to help move things along.
Excellent, mate. Thank you so much, and such a good tip. And thank you so much for listening to this episode, everyone. Please, again, share it with your friends. You might be able to just blast this out on your Facebook page or your email list, to shoot it over to a few people that would benefit. See you next time, and until then, take good care. Bye for now.
You too. See you later, guys.